Chapter 6 Part 2. The wind off the strait carried the first true bite of autumn, whipping the sea into a frenzy of whitecaps and scattering crimson and gold leaves across the new gravel path. The Split Rock Memorial Overlook was quiet at this hour, a place of stark beauty and profound peace. Angela Mitchell stood at the railing, her hands tucked into the pockets of her worn wool coat. Below, the sea gnawed at the base of the great, sundered rock, the site of the cataclysm now softened by time and weather. The scar was still there, but life was reclaiming it. Tenacious lichen painted the raw stone in shades of orange and gray, and gulls nested in the new crevices. A year. It felt like a lifetime and the blink of an eye. The Harbor's End Watch, born from the ashes of the Moretti Foundation and fueled by the remnants of its ill-gotten wealth, was now a recognized force. They funded independent research, monitored high-risk biotech ventures, and maintained a vigilant digital ear to the ground through Megan's ever-expanding network. The work was never-ending, a constant, quiet battle against the next potential catastrophe. Angela, at 19, was its unlikely director, her authority forged in fire and trusted by a town that had seen the cost of complacency. She heard the familiar, measured tread on the gravel path behind her before he spoke. Evan says the new scans are promising. More neural activity. Still quiet, but less dark. Angela turned. Anthony stood there, leaning slightly on a polished hiking pole. He was thinner, the angles of his face sharper, but the glacial blue of his eyes was clear, present. The devastating neural overload had not been a death sentence, but a reset. The path back had been agonizingly slow, learning to walk again, to speak, to piece together the fragments of a memory scorched by an electromagnetic storm. Some things were lost forever. Others, like the feel of salt spray and the sound of her voice, had been the first to return. "Less dark is good," Angela said, her voice soft. She nodded towards the sea. "It's restless today." Anthony came to stand beside her at the railing, his movements still careful, deliberate. He followed her gaze, not at the water, but at the rock. "It's healing," he said, his words coming a little slower than they once had, each one chosen with care. "The stone. It doesn't hum anymore." The resonance was gone. From the rock. From him. The scars on his arm were just pale, smooth lines now. The connection to his mother's monstrous creation had been severed utterly in the blast. He was free. "How's the pain?" she asked. He gave a small, half-shrug, a ghost of his old, wry expression. "Manageable. It's a good pain. It means the nerves are still talking." He was quiet for a long moment, watching the waves. "I remember the choice. On the rock. I remember knowing it was the only way. I wasn't afraid. I was," Angela whispered, the memory of that terror still vivid. "I was so afraid." He turned his head to look at her fully. "You pulled the switch. You were the stone." He reached out, his grip surprisingly firm as he took her hand. His skin was warm against the autumn chill. "You held the line." They stood in silence then, the wind pulling at their hair, the only two people who truly understood the weight of the quiet that surrounded them. The battle was over. The war against that particular darkness was won. Their lives were no longer a plot hurtling towards a climax, but a slow, steady process of rebuilding and watchfulness. Anthony squeezed her hand once before letting go. "Rousseau's making chowder. He says if we're late, he'll feed it to the gulls." A genuine smile touched Angela's lips for the first time that day. "Then we'd better not be late." She took one last look at the meeting place of salt and stone, at the peaceful, scarred landscape that held their past. Then she turned her back on it, falling into step beside Anthony on the path that led home. The tide was out, the pools were calm, and for now, that was enough.